Imagine driving down a highway in the dead of night and seeing 13 massive semi-trucks parked side by side under a bridge, completely blocking every single lane of traffic. No accident, no construction, no explanation, just 13 trucks, sitting there, in total silence. That's exactly what motorists encountered on Interstate 696 in Detroit, Michigan. And when the reason finally came out, it shook people to their core. But to understand why, we need to go back to how it all started. It was the middle of the night. Most of America was sound asleep. But for Lieutenant Michael Shaw of the Michigan State Police, this Tuesday morning was about to become one he'd never forget. A call had come in. A man was standing on the edge of a highway overpass, staring down at the pavement far below. He was in crisis, and he was thinking about jumping. Within minutes, multiple law enforcement agencies rushed to the scene. Negotiators arrived. Officers began talking to the man, trying to reach him, trying to keep him calm. But Lieutenant Shaw knew that words alone might not be enough. They needed a backup plan, something no one had ever seen before. And that's when he made a phone call that changed everything. Here's what most people don't realize. When someone is standing on the edge of an overpass, every second matters. Negotiators work to build trust, to find the right words. But Lieutenant Shaw also had to prepare for the possibility that those words might not work in time. So he came up with an idea. What if they could shrink the distance between the overpass and the ground? What if they could place something soft, something massive, directly beneath the man, so that even in the worst-case scenario, he'd have a chance? Officers rushed to the highway below and began flagging down truck drivers, complete strangers, hauling freight in the middle of the night, with no connection to the man on the bridge and no obligation to stop. One by one, they pulled over. And one by one, they were asked to do something extraordinary. Park your truck under that bridge and don't move. Not a single driver said no. First, the trucks lined up across the eastbound lanes. Then, Michigan State Police shut down the westbound lanes as more trucks arrived. 13 semis in total, packed bumper to bumper, forming a wall of steel directly beneath the overpass. Lieutenant Shaw later explained that the trucks were positioned so tightly together that no matter where the man moved on the bridge, there would always be a semi-truck beneath him. 13 strangers. 13 trucks. One mission, catch him if he falls. Now, here's the part that doesn't make the headlines. Those 13 drivers didn't just park and leave. They stayed. Engines idling, headlights glowing in the darkness, hour after hour after hour. Think about that for a second. These weren't trained first responders. They weren't being paid overtime. They were long-haul truckers on a schedule with deadlines to meet and miles to log. Every minute they sat there cost them money. And they didn't care. They sat in their cabs through the cold Michigan night, knowing that somewhere above them, a man they'd never met was fighting the hardest battle of his life. They couldn't see him. They couldn't talk to him. All they could do was be there, a silent safety net made of steel and strangers' compassion. 4 hours. That's how long they waited. 4 hours while negotiators talked. 4 hours while officers worked to reach a man who felt like no one in the world cared about him, except 13 people did. And they were right beneath his feet. And then, just as the first light of dawn began creeping across the Detroit skyline, it happened. The man stepped back from the edge. Officers gently escorted him off the bridge and into a waiting ambulance. He was taken to a nearby hospital, alive and safe. Lieutenant Shaw later shared that the man had opened up to officers about personal and family struggles that had brought him to that moment. After 4 hours of darkness, both literal and emotional, it was over. The 13 trucks slowly pulled away from beneath the overpass, one by one, merging back onto the highway and disappearing into the early morning traffic. No fanfare, no applause, just 13 ordinary people going back to their ordinary lives after doing something absolutely extraordinary. Michigan State Police shared a single photo of the scene on social media. 13 trucks, one bridge. And the reason behind it all? It went viral overnight. Millions of people saw it, and the reaction was overwhelming. Lieutenant Shaw said something about the photo that stuck with people. He said, "It shows that even strangers care." 13 drivers who didn't know this man's name, didn't know his story, didn't know what he was going through, and they gave up their night to help save his life. Shaw also revealed something remarkable. He said police have called on truck drivers in situations like this before, and not once has a single driver ever turned them down. Not once. Let that sink in. We live in a world where it's easy to feel alone, where the news is filled with division, anger, and cruelty, where it sometimes feels like nobody cares. But this story proves otherwise. Because somewhere on a dark Michigan highway, 13 strangers proved that compassion isn't dead. That people you've never met will show up for you, literally park themselves beneath you, just to make sure you don't fall. These truck drivers do so much more than log miles across this country. On that night, they carried something far heavier than freight. They carried hope. So if you're watching this right now and you're struggling, if you're going through something that feels too heavy to bear, I need you to hear this. You are not alone. You never were. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out. Call or text 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can also reach out to a loved one, a counselor, a member of your community, or call 911. Help is closer than you think, and there are more people who care about you than you could ever imagine, even people you've never met. Remember those 13 trucks. Remember what they represent. There is always someone willing to catch you. This story deserves to be heard by everyone. If it moved you the way it moved me, smash that like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me about a time a stranger showed you unexpected kindness. Let's fill this comment section with proof that good people are everywhere. I'll see you in the next one.